In this video, we're going to look at the definition of cosine and how it relates to its graph. We've already talked about sine and the fact that sine is the distance between this point and the x-axis. Well, cosine was the x-coordinate of this point, so it's the distance from the y-axis to this point, the distance from here to here, which is the same as the distance down here. And if we look at how that distance changes as we move around the circle, you see in the first quadrant, remember it was positive. In the second quadrant, we're on the left-hand side, so this value becomes negative. As I round pi radians, we go into the third quadrant. We're still negative, we're still on this side. And as I come into the last quadrant, I'm in the fourth quadrant, I'm positive once again. Now, again, to get the graph of this function, of the cosine function, we're going to plot a point, but this time, I guess this time what's the same is that the angle here is represented by the angle at the center. So again, if I take this to pi on 4, this has an x-coordinate of pi on 4, but its y-coordinate is given by this distance here. Okay, so down here where the angle is 0, this point has an x-coordinate of 0. The height of this point is given by 1, because that's the distance from the origin in the horizontal direction. Let's watch this point as we move around. If I move to pi on 4, I'm at 0.71. I move to pi on 2, the horizontal distance is 0. This point is directly above 0 on the x-axis. This thing has a height of 0. And so on. We go negative, still negative, positive. And if again we turn the trace onto this point, we can track how the curve changes. And I'll graph the whole thing there, y equals cos x. Oh, and I put it on the wrong axis. That's better. Okay, we see that this point lies on this curve. Now notice this is the same shape as for sine. The difference is that while sine started here and went up, this curve cos starts at 1 and starts by going down. And in a bit later we're going to look at the differences between the two curves, but they look exactly the same, just that sine and cosine are shifted out of sync with each other. One's just a little bit ahead of the other one. We say they're out of phase, but they still form this nice wave shape.